every few weeks or so, a reader will ask for comment on the persistent false allegation of Adolf Hitler having been a secret agent of the Rothschild bankers. Dismissing the claims as retarded rubbish with a few sentences of clarification is generally all it takes to reassure Hitler fans that there is no cause for alarm. All one has to do is look at the level of never-ending red-hot hatred that is still being leveled at Hitler. 70 years after Germany's defeat in World War II, he continues to be vilified by the PRC, the predatory ruling class, for one simple reason: to scare people into a never-do-that-again frame of mind. The great one was true blue, the real deal, the genuine article. Contrary to the idiotic claims of patriot tyrants and assorted trolls who are known to pose as anti-globalists, Hitler shut down the German, French and Austrian branches of the House of Rothschild, a very peculiar action for a Rothschild agent, don't you think? This unsourced nonsense about Hitler the British Rothschild agent doesn't even merit the time that it takes to rebut it. But because more than a few truthers have bought into this lunacy and continue to repeat this lie, promoted by advertising salesmen such as Alex Jones, among others, what follows is a put-up-or-shut-up refutation of the major points of the Hitler worked for the Rothschilds fairy tale and its lesser variant, the Rothschilds funded and manipulated Hitler claim. Hitler tried to make deals with the British. He should have known that England would ally itself with Russia rather than against it. This proves that Hitler was a Rothschild agent in false opposition. Rebuttal: the English ruling class was not monolithic. Hitler's outreach was to the reasonable elements, not to scum such as Winston Churchill and Anthony Eden. There were powerful men in Britain that were resisting the drive to World War II with Germany. Men such as former Prime Minister David Lloyd George, King Edward VIII later demoted to Duke because he was an open admirer of Hitler. The 5th Duke of Wellington, Arthur Wellesley, Lord Halifax, and even Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, the appeaser who was maneuvered into war by the traitors in his own party. It was those type of Englishmen that Hitler was trying to forge an alliance with, not the Rothschild Jews and their Freemason stooges. Claim: Hitler attacked a subsidiary of the New World Order, the USSR, instead of its heart, the City of London. This proves that Hitler was a Rothschild agent in false opposition. Rebuttal: Again, the reason that Hitler did not invade England was because he held out hopes for making peace. When Stalin provoked Hitler's preemptive invasion of Russia in 1941, the invasion of England was then out of the question, logistically speaking. Hitler's hesitation to invade Britain had nothing to do with protecting the Rothschilds. Claim: Hitler failed to see that America had already succumbed to total Rothschild control. He should therefore have known that America would enter the war and knocked Britain out before the Americans could arrive. Rebuttal: Like Britain, America's political class was not monolithic. The anti-war, anti-FDR forces in America were still very strong. Included among them were men like Charles Lindbergh and Joseph P. Kennedy. Claim: Hitler was financed by the same London and New York City-based Masonic Jewish bankers he was railing against. Rebuttal: Can anyone show us a receipt? Seriously, there is not one shred of evidence that the Rothschilds or their front men financed the rise of Hitler's NSDAP. Hitler's money came from German businessmen fearful of communist takeover, Russian emigres/royalists who fled the Bolsheviks, and regular party members, disgruntled veterans and NSDAP supporters. Claim: Companies like Ford, Woolworth, Kodak, Alcoa and IBM, and Wall Street investors like Prescott Bush did business with Nazi Germany. Rebuttal: So what? Many American firms and individuals did business with Germany after it became a united constitutional monarchy, and continued to do business with Germany when it became a left-leaning socialist democracy, and continued to do business with pre-war Germany after Hitler and his NSDAP were elected into power. Why wouldn't they? If a local cigar shop imports and resells Cuban cigars, does that make the owner a Castro collaborator or a communist? Claim: Jewish banking legends Paul and Max Warburg supported Hitler's NSDAP through a large chemical company called IG Farben and its American subsidiary. IG Farben helped finance the NSDAP while Max served on its board and Paul served on the board of its American subsidiary. Rebuttal: Means nothing. The Warburgs were neither CEOs nor presidents at IG Farben, but only single board members out of many others. The origination of their terms on various corporate boards preceded Hitler's rise. Paul actually died 1 year before Hitler was even elected. We should also point out that many German firms that did not have a Warburg sitting on their board also supported Hitler. In short, IG Farben backed Hitler in spite of the Warburgs, not because of them. Claim: In such and such a book, Professor so-and-so from such and such university reveals that Hitler blah blah blah. Rebuttal: To the easily impressed, junk historians citing the unsourced garbage of other junk historians may sound like a statement of credibility. But it is not. Fools quoting fools in an endless circle jerk proves nothing. At some point, one needs to produce original source documentation or multiple credible witness in order to support an accusation. We do not see any of that in any of the articles claiming that Hitler was an agent of the bankers. Claim: Hitler's role was to smoke out all opposition to the New World Order and lead it to destruction. Rebuttal: apart from there being no evidence to support this horrible hypothesis, this opinion itself is nonsensical. If the deliverance of Germany into the hands of satanic world government was truly Hitler's goal, then all he had to do was allow the failed Weimar Republic to continue imploding. Had Germany fallen to Bolshevism in the early 1930s, which it certainly would have were it not for Hitler's dynamic leadership, it would have been game over for all of Europe. Claim: in May-June 1940, when England lay prostrate after their exodus from Dunkirk, Hitler had an opportunity to tear out the heart of the globalist Jewish money monopoly. Instead, he allowed 330,000 British and Allied soldiers to escape at Dunkirk, proof that he was their agent, not their nemesis. Rebuttal: viewed through the lenses of 2020's hindsight, Hitler's mercy at Dunkirk was a blunder. But to go from there, all the way to Hitler was a Rothschild agent is the equivalent of taking 2 and 2 and hastily coming up with 5. What devotees of the Rothschild-Hitler school of logic may not know is that after Dunkirk, May 1940, there was a bitter divide among members of Churchill's war cabinet. A faction led by Lord Halifax was willing to sit down with Mussolini of Italy, who was still neutral, and hear the details of a peace offered from Germany. The conflict is known as the War Cabinet Crisis, and it almost ended Churchill's war before it could really heat up. It was the presence of reasonable Englishmen such as Halifax, coupled with Hitler's sincere desire to avoid further bloodshed, that stayed Hitler's hand. That's called honor, not treason. Why the lie? Given that the moronic myth of Hitler Rothschild is so devoid of logic, so utterly unsubstantiated, and so easily debunked, one has to wonder why such claims continue to be peddled by some in the truth movement. There are 3 categories of people promoting this rubbish. 1. False opposition/Zionist trolls. 2. Hitlerphobics. 3. Sincere dupes of categories 1 and 2. The false opposition explanation for the Hitler-Rothschild lie is self-explanatory. There are those usual suspects, who, in an attempt to steer truth-seeking conspiracy theorists away from the greatness and goodness of Hitler, would have us believe that Hitler was a traitor working for the NWO/Illuminati. They are deliberately poisoning the well of truth. It's that simple. The Hitlerphobia phenomena, on the other hand, is not the work of false opposition agents. Rather, it is motivated by the fear of going all the way by embracing the undeservedly toxic name of the evil Adolf Hitler. These weak-willed and ad revenue-dependent truthers will passionately and sincerely rail against the globalists and their evil agent FDR, and the evil communist Joseph Stalin. But they need to come up with a plausible-sounding explanation for Hitler's fight against the very same globalists that they hate so much. You see, They cannot say that the globalists were suddenly the good guys during World War II, but nor can they bring themselves to admit that Hitler was the good guy fighting globalism either. Perish the thought. It's quite a pickle for these timid types. The Hitler was in bed with the globalists fairy tale solves this little problem. As the manufactured argument goes, the globalists and Hitler were both bad guys who double-crossed each other. It's a very safe middle ground for the one-half-truth movement, but it's a lie era that 100% truthers should be aware of, and stay far away from.